Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Boom Radio NG. And of course, you know when it is 2 p.m. and the microphone is open. Is nothing but the Legend series. Yes, the Legend series is back again. Of course, you know that we've not been here in like a few weeks. You know, we've missed the Legend series, but we're back with a bang.
True.
We're back with a bang. And my name, if you're just joining us for the very first time, my name is Dolupo. You know, the one and only. And with me in the studio today, our usual suspect on the Legend series. You know. But before I go to him, which we always see his face anyway, we have somebody in the studio that, in all right, it's he's definitely a legend, and he is an author, is a journalist, in fact, multiple award-winning journalist, editor of long-standing. He has really published a lot of books. He is Nigeria's foremost soccer diarist and the country's most capped FIFA World Cup journalist, having attended FIFA World Cup finals from Italy 1990 to Russia 2018. So, of course, we know that person must definitely have. There's a lot of things to say. There's a lot of things to say about him. There's definitely a lot. I have like God knows how many things. In fact, a few things, a bit of controversies, a bit of things that maybe has gone back and forth. And you know when you pick out things, I'm like, okay, and then his name pops up there. I'm like, okay, and then you think of something else, and then names pops up there. Is no other person than Kunle Solaja.
Yeah, simply case.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here, but I'm surprised that I'm being called a legend. I'm just silly journalist.
Well, I think it's in you to be modest. Okay, but let me start this way. My name is Yomi Opakunle. Okay, first time co-anchoring with Dolupo.
Oh yeah, actually.
Not to see Dolupo, because we are all used to that. But she's unique now so her name. They knew she was going to be unique. So they named her in a unique way. Dolupo.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Amazon we have in-house here, doing wonderful things on air, amazingly behind the scene too. You know, so together we'll be doing this. Shola Rogers is mounting the behind the scene today, and that's lovely. So we're glad to have Kunle Solaja.
Very glad.
We're glad to have you. And you were wondering whether you're a legend.
Oh yeah, you are.
Well, you are.
You are, sir.
The truth of the matter is that you fall into that category.
Because I wrote about a legend.
No.
The
truth of the matter is that, like, from some of the tips you already gave to our dear listeners all over the world, you are Nigeria's foremost archivist of sports records. You are Super Eagles of Nigerian football's most numero uno documentaries. You are so many things in it, and you've done this for a long while, decades now. So what makes a legend other than doing things consistently in a highly revered way for decades?
Yeah.
Not for weeks, not for years, for decades. Nigeria's number one World Cup. How did you call it? Man who covered the most.
The most, yes.
Out of all of us. Someone said 1, 2. You.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's what we call it. Maybe you don't know. You know, in the super echelon side of sports journalists, those they call elders amongst you, and then the younger ones are picked. We simply call you KS. And that is King of Sports. That's why we call it King of Sports. KS, welcome to Boom Radio, where we do wondrous things.
Thank you very much, and thanks once again for the kind words.
And I'm sure the Dolupo will tell you what we try to do with the station, our reach.
Oh yeah, basically. For people that do not know, and let me explain a bit to him as well. We brought about Legend series on Boom Radio because a lot of times we've come to realize that a lot of accolades, a lot of things are said about people, good things said about people when they're gone. But why not let us celebrate our own, which is not really a culture that Nigeria has. First things first, let's celebrate our own when we're all alive and well. Also, there are a lot of things that a lot of people, a lot of legends have that we do not document a lot of these things.
Yeah.
We don't put up a lot of documents. We don't document. So it's also things to put some things to rest. Put some conversations let's hear the truth. People that were actually there when these events happened. People that, basically it's just to clear controversies,
yes,
and then put out a lot of nuggets, a lot of things that is good for people coming up, that we can basically put it out there for people that need that are still learning on this.
And additionally, when people want to look for records now, they just go and whatever, and we see that some information are scanty. So we decided that, look, those that qualify to be legends, we bring them here. They will tell their stories themselves.
Yes.
No controversies. And the irony, the icing on the cake is that we have a YouTube channel. So apart from people latching onto it online, as we do, we're streaming on Facebook, we're doing everything. We have a YouTube channel where you can, in the years
just go back to it,
and you get the truth of the matter. I remember on one of the occasions we were talking about nice history people on one program that we just mentioned them in passing, and somebody said he found out online that they said Kenneth Ola, because it was reeled out as one of the people, Kenneth Ola on board, that he was there. That was no. It was his elder brother, Bolintin Ola, and then we called up Kenneth Ola, but when what's his name now? Joseph Dosuemo came here, he was able to say so many things about himself.
Yeah.
And he was able to clear the air about how he had the accident. That he doesn't take alcohol, he never took before, he still doesn't take. So it wasn't, hearing it from the person himself makes sense. So we're glad to have you because you are a solid legend. I'm sure you are clear now that you fit that seat.
Thank you very much.
So it's several times all over the world. Sometimes that's why you saw her introduce good evening, good morning, good afternoon,
wherever you are, you definitely would you'll be watching this. So okay, sir, let's start from the basics. So before we go into, because I know that there's a lot of things we're going to be touching, from your career to a lot of things that had come up with your name on it. Another one interesting part was that where there was a bit of controversy about the NFF. When was it? When did it start? Or NFA as at then? When did they start and all that? And how you were the one that brought out some evidence that it was, those things far older than what people were talking about. So those are things that we're going to be touching on. But before then, we're going to start with from the basics.
Yes.
How did it all start? Did you start from being an author, or you started with sports journalism, or how did you even get into sports journalism or journalism?
Or Dolupo, maybe we should start this way, since we want to document it's going to be. Okay, so tell us a little bit about it. So at the beginning, when were you born? To whom? Because that's what Dr. Ladipo did, and we're all like, hey, really? To whom? And the siblings, blah 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 blah, schools attended, your early days, plans, and then how you found yourself in journalism. Then we can take it from there. All you have done. Is that good?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I am born in Lagos. I was born in Lagos, even though I'm from Ogun State, Ikene in Ogun State. My parents, both my parents are from Ikene in Ogun State, but I was born in Lagos. So technically speaking, if you look at how they determine people's state of origin elsewhere, especially
Yeah, you're Lagosian.
I'm a Lagosian.
Yeah.
That can speak Ijebu.
Yes. But well, you also know that there are parts of Ijebu land that are in Lagos.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So I have dual. If it
State
were
citizenship.
you talk about dual nationality, but in this time, just like Dolupo said.
Ola Dolupo. You are going to be struggling with me. No matter how vast you are, I struggle.
Ola Dolupo.
Ola Dolupo said. So I am a man of two states.
Okay. So when was this that you were born?
I was born 31st of March, 1960.
Fine.
I know there's something unique about 31st of March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it goes again.
Which many people may really not know about.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. For instance, now, a day after that day, you talk about All Fools Day.
Oh.
So, which means humanity has decided, or humanity is of the knowledge that wisdom is at its lowest point on April 1. So from April 1, you start building wisdom, and it gets to its peak on 31st.
Oh, okay.
Probably that was why my Christian name is Solomon.
Oh, now you now know him.
So,
You see,
know,
this is what Boom Radio does.
Okay.
How do you know you are Solomon?
Okay. And you know what?
Yes.
King Solomon was known to be the man with the highest IQ wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you look at King Solomon, it means KS.
Yes, once again.
Okay.
So, when you talk of KS, you also talk of King Solomon.
Right.
So you talk of Kunle Solaja.
He had many wives.
And you talk, no, I have just one.
No, he had many wives. I don't want to use the word, but
don't worry.
So when you talk of KS, you are also talking about King Solomon.
Oh, that's
so,
that's
and
fantastic.
you know what? Yeah. Every viable economy in the world have March 31 as the end of their financial year, and that's why.
Okay.
And that's why the economy really boomed like Boom Radio.
Hey! What a way to start.
Okay, yeah.
So,
that is.
So where was this?
Huh?
Where was this?
I was born at Massey Street Hospital.
Okay.
I think I was one of the last set of babies born there before the island maternity was open.
Okay.
Incidentally, my mom showed me the card of admission that time. Looking very neat, very as if it was issued just yesterday.
That's how you keep records. Maybe you took it from your mom. Okay. So mom was what? A trader? Dad was what?
Both were traders.
Fantastic. Okay.
Both were traders. Incidentally, my father, the late Pa Olajide Francis Olajide Solaja, told me that his father was the first educated person in our hometown in Kenya, and worked with the district officer. Unfortunately, he never got to know him well because the man died in 1917. I still have the picture.
Kenya is where late Chief Obame.
Yes.
No, you know that's a town of legends. Even though I'm just
no. You said that your dad told you that his dad was the first
educated person.
Okay, so
who died in 1917.
Wow.
Oh, 1917.
17.
So obviously older than
legendary
or Paving. So no controversy. Go on.
Yeah. So in fact, I never saw him. Of course, my father too just had a faint image of him. So we had his photograph. I have his photograph. I done in my own study at home. So, but looking at him, the photograph, you knew that there was no doubt that he was an elite then. The kind of shoe he wore, the kind of suit, and so 1917. So somehow they said he was the first educated person in my hometown. Well, I can't prove it because there is no documented evidence.
And you like things to be documentarily supported, otherwise you drop it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, the only thing that gives me that impression are the two photographs of
the pictures that you
got. So schools now. Which primary school, which secondary school? Obviously no nursery school at that time.
There were nursery schools.
At the time of your birth?
Yes, at the time I was growing up. But only those who belong to the elite class were actually going to.
Oh,
so
really?
Which school did you go to?
I went to two primary schools. Okay. The first one being Apostolic Church Primary School in Ibadan.
Okay.
And then where I had my primary 1 and primary 2, before now moving to a more urban part of Ibadan, Methodist School, Okeado 1. That
Okay.
Ibadan, yeah. And that was the school. It was an elite school, so to say, as at that time, because even Chief Obafemi Awolowo's children also went there, even though older than me, but they passed through that school. Because I heard the story of Wole Awolowo and all those things attending that school. And if you see the structure of the school, you know that must have been a school built by the colonial masters.
Okay, so from primary school, from that, where did you go to?
Yeah, from primary school, obviously, I went to secondary school. But my interest in journalism actually started from my primary school. Because actually, I like to watch matches, especially when we moved to Okeado, which was just a stone. Our house was just a stone throw to the famous Liberty
Stadium.
So that gave me opportunity of really developing interest in sports.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember having an encounter with the late Thunder Balogun sometime in 1969. The house I was living, which was just opposite the present-day Nigerian Tribune building. As at that time, that place was just a playing ground. Tribune then was somewhere else in Ibadan. So we used to play football there. So one day like this, we were just playing, and Thunder Balogun used to come around a beer parlor then, as they call it, to hang around. So that particular day we were playing, came in his Opel car like this, just parked, and decided to hang outside, just watching us play. So that really gingered me to put more. And as at that time, I remember all of us were trying to
impress him.
To impress
the legendary man. He was a coach at that time, right?
Yes, he was a coach for Western region. As at that time, it had become Western State, but it used to be Western region. So when we noticed that the man was taking interest in us, everybody was trying to showcase his skill. I remember after the match, he just called me and said, you boy, which means I was too selfish with the ball. That there are instances where I could have passed the ball to a better positioned person, but because I want showmanship, so that's not how to be. So at the end of it all, I just threw an innocuous question. I said, sir, if we want to play for Nigeria, how will it be possible? I said, no. Your parents will not allow you to play for Nigeria. I can talk to my parents. They listen to me. They will allow me to play. So he just took a pen, wrote down the names of the few of us there like this. And behold, we were not the best of footballers in our primary school then. As a matter of fact, we play our own street football because we were not good enough to be among those who play in the school field.
Yes.
So by the time we got back to school the next day and we realized what happened the previous day, everybody followed me home. Today they too were going
to see him.
Balogun. So as the man came the next day, he didn't even, as he was just coming out of his car like this, everybody just provided him about 40 youths, small boys. So you look at us in our scans. So, what's the matter?
What's happening?
And one of them just raised up his hand and said, sir, those people whose name you wrote yesterday, they are not good footballers. We were the stars of the school. So he just gave them a piece of paper and said they should write down their names and send to him.
He was playing psychology on all of you.
I cannot forget easily that. So
it made you love football more?
No, football then. But I was taking so much time for football. I remember there was a particular December where myself and my elder brother, we forfeited buying shoes. You know, those days what they call bata odun, aṣọ odun. So that day there was going to be a match at the Liberty Stadium. The two of us forfeited buying shoes that time because we wanted to go to the stadium. And our mother knew that it was because I purposely chose that day because she didn't want us to go to the stadium.
Okay.
But we opted to forfeit that. So after the woman noticed that we were paying so much attention on football, now decided there are no outing for all this. And why at home like this, I'll be doing illustrations, doing comic on football matches I have watched and or imaginary ones. I could say Nigeria versus Congo. Started doing comics on them and on that.
So that's where the interest really began.
That was where the interest really took off.
Early.
So by the time I got to secondary school,
which was where?
Remo Divisional High School, Shagamu.
Ooh, that's Remo School.
Yeah. So by the time I got there, like this, because of my small stature, I think that nature really cheated me then, but it has more than compensated.
Were you eating enough beans?
Eh?
Or you were like me that would not eat the beans and be picking?
No, we'll be picking the insects.
Oh, you were like me. That's why we didn't grow tall.
What I'm lost. What does insects have to do with beans?
No, in your own case, you
No,
tell
weevils.
no, in your own case.
Then, yeah.
No, because you don't want to eat.
In your own case, in your own case,
yes.
Your case is not like mine. In your own case,
yes,
you didn't pay development levy. So that stunted your growth.
Okay, at this point.
So while in school, then I took interest in football, but I was not good enough to play.
Okay.
But I like reading about football. So by the time I got to the third class, then go from 3. What today I think they call
JSS3.
JSS3. So from 3, I started following the school team anywhere they went.
Okay.
And I would now write the report.
Purposely.
Yes, purposely the report of the match. And in the fashion of newspapers coming out the following day in the morning. So by the following the timekeeper who wakes us up
in the boarding house.
Yeah, in the boarding house like that. So by the time he was, each time he was going to ring the bell, he would have come to wake me up. So I would just follow him, put my report on the notice board there. So when people wake up like this, any time there's a match, the first place they all march to was the notice board to read the account of the previous day match.
Did you used to put your byline that time?
Of course, yes.
Wow.
This guy had
And you didn't get at that point. There had not been any formal education about writing.
No formal. And I remember when by the time I was in Form 4, there was one of our teachers there who was teaching us English. Just said that I was going to be a journalist. Unfortunately, he died before I became a journalist.
Wow.
He died in an auto accident. One Mr. Tajuddin Ajetumobi.
So you didn't feel bad at it. You didn't feel that you didn't ask that you are going to. You didn't profess that you are going to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. You just say journalism.
No, Remo Divisional High School Shagam was a comprehensive. They operated comprehensive system, so they already see the strong areas of individuals. So he said, yeah, this one was going to be a journalist. The way I write essays, compositions, and all those things. Fantastic. So that that already prepared my mind
to where you were going.
And I was always keeping diary then.
Wow.
So when a match is played, I have a diary in my secondary school. Then I will write, to this match, so
dates. This is what happened.
The scores, the scorers, and all that. So I had.
So for your school start, English and literature must have been one of the subjects.
Of course, one of my best subjects then, and history, of course. Fantastic. And I was the first student in my secondary school to have a A1 in history.
Wow.
So, on Boom Radio again, we bring it out. We dig this thing now. So what did you have in English?
English, I had 6 first attempt. Okay. I had a grade 24. So because I have F9 in mathematics, because my parents insisted I must rewrite.
You write it.
So the next time I wrote my school, GCE then. Yes. So I had A3 in English.
Wow.
So that really prepared me for that. Wow. And then we had this thought in me. What should I do? Should I continue on that same trajectory to be a journalist or to be a lawyer? Don't forget that the hometown where I come from,
plenty lawyers.
There are too many lawyers. As a matter of fact, one of the first, by the time Nigeria had 6 SANs, Ikene alone had 3.
Wow.
By the time the number increased to 13, Ikene had 6. But right now, you can count the number of SANs that have come from that place. Wow. So I had that feel. I said, should I go into law? If I go into law, I may likely be submerged, even within
that. Wait, is that not the town where the vice president comes from?
Yeah, Oshibage is from there too. So that gave me the impression that law may not be that for me. That I should do something that probably be unique. Let me go for mass com. And so totally, that's the profession I found myself.
So where did you read your mass com? Where did you go?
We're the best mass communication institution in Africa and one of the best in the world, the Great University of Lagos.
Oh,
Great Akoka.
Great.
I only did my master's there.
But you know, we have to retrain you there because if you are good enough, you won't go to Unilag for your masters. So it was because you know that is the place to be.
Mumini Ala will be blushing somewhere now. Because there will be all of them.
Excuse me. I know that everybody likes to, give their own, what's it called? But you know that nobody can touch it. What we're talking about, University of Ibadan. You know that, right?
Yes, I agree with you. Anytime you will need anything that is archaic, anytime we need anything archaic, we want to read Latin, we know where to go.
Okay. I would.
But you know the first university, the first University College of Ibadan.
Unilag was never a college. It went straight to being a full-fledged university. We didn't need to be a tutelage to any other institution.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, we have institutions that were attached to Unilag then. University of Port Harcourt came out of Unilag. The Federal University of Agriculture Abeokuta came out of Unilag. So we were producing graduates, excellent people, and at the same time we were producing universities.
Okay. So we leave that area because you just so after your degree in mass comm.
That was how you just got into.
What next?
While reading mass communication, all my term papers, projects, and everything were on sports, except one. And even when I went for my masters at the same institution, all my write-ups, all my anything academic were always on sports, except one topic imposed on me by Professor Dolupo, which was on cyber or something like that, during my master's degree. So otherwise, every other thing was always around sports.
Yes,
it's always been around sports because sports is part of me. My wife is a sports person. Yeah. My children love sports, and sports is just, and that's the only human activity where fairness really exists. Well, it's a Brumen won gold.
Yeah.
Ambition world gold.
Yes.
And all that. Nobody has asked which religion they practice.
True.
Their ethnic background, where they come from, whether they are rich or poor.
Yes.
But everybody that's one unifying factor.
All over
the world, especially in a diverse nation like ours. That's one human endeavor that we really need to build on, to really build.
Especially since we have a pool of talent, so that it will unify us.
Yeah,
and the women, like it has happened at Birmingham now.
Yeah, that we're definitely.
Nigeria is becoming
a force to reckon with. Yeah, a woman's world. I agree with you. I agree with you.
All the 12 gold medals were by
every women. Single one.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, even most of the medals.
More than
half of the silver. Yes.
Silver medals. I mean, we had 8 silver medals, and 6 of them.
6 of them were from women.
They have 14 bronze medals.
So give it to them.
8 of them.
8 of them. I agree with you. It's a woman's year.
My wife is a woman.
Yeah. Oh,
and my mother too is a woman.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, it's. I saw a post yesterday where someone was like that. With the feats that Nigerian women are making in sports, like in the past few months, are we sure that governance is probably not going to be shifted towards that side?
Okay, that women should come in now.
Yeah,
true. We love it. Modele tried.
Yeah, women will come in after the men. I say women will come in after the men.
Wow. That's the problem. See, that's the problem that we have.
Because men were made before women. Men were
Yeah, but it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. You know, I agree.
No, it will come one day. No doubt about it.
I agree with you. The only issue, also, I have an issue with a lot of things, and the issue is especially when it comes to sports and women, that I think that women do not support each other as much.
Enough.
Take
right?
for example, female football matches or whatever games. How many women actually go out to watch
their, you know?
Yeah, I think that is something. That's where if we demand things from men, we ourselves, are we even doing as much for ourselves?
I think the point to make is that beware, men, beware. Once women get into politics, they will dominate.
Yeah, they're catching up. Definitely.
Yeah. I think so. Let's wait and see.
Definitely catching up.
So back to you.
So back, sir. We're still continuing. So when did the career now kick off?
Yeah.
Well, I had my first byline April 17, 1981. I was
Authority?
Yeah. Because
you document.
Yeah. I was a student of the University of Lagos, the Department of Mass Communication. I just decided to knock out my thoughts on an impending match, Nigeria versus Guinea in Conakry, a World Cup qualifying match. I think I titled that write-up. What was it then? I said I titled the write-up "Beware Super Eagles." I mean Green Eagles, as they were called then. So one day like this, I just walked across. No, I got to the library. I mean to our departmental library. I just picked one newspaper there, Tribune. I started reading an article I saw then. Said point to note for the Green Eagles. I was just reading and I said, this thing sounds familiar to me. The words.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the third paragraph, I just said, let me look at the writer. I just saw my name, Kunle Solaja, Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos.
Okay, how did that paper get to the Tribune?
Yeah, no, I wrote. No,
okay, and you sent it to them.
I
Okay.
posted it to the editor.
Oh, that's good. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just a gamble, and yeah, I have half page.
Oh, wow, wow.
So it was an intoxicant. It was like, oh, I have just, I don't take alcohol like my good friend here. Who has planned to intoxicate
I only spice myself. I don't have the balls. I don't have the balls.
I was so happy. So my write-up will appear in the newspaper. So that just told me that, I'm
on the right track.
Yes,
yeah.
So, and by the time on June 26, 1994, my article first appeared in a foreign newspaper.
Wow.
That was Washington Post.
Wow.
I was at the World Cup USA 94, and then we were arguing. I was arguing with some journalists at the media center. Then somebody just tapped me aside. I said, please, can I have a word with you? I said, no problem. He said, those arguments we are putting up there, can you write it for us? And you remember I was working for the Concord newspapers then, so I was not even sure. Well, and Concord had been shot, but I still gambled to go to the World Cup, hoping that maybe along the line
there will be a platform to use. Or
they might open us. And before I left, we had this paper, Daily News, operating from Oshodi, Concord then. So I just felt, at least if I'm not sure of being read at home, I should be sure of being read here.
Yeah.
So I just told the guy, I said, yes, I can write. So just pick a phone, call the editor, Tracy Abilton, and say, I've got an African here who's going to write for us the World Cup from an African perspective. I said, okay. So I just sat down. Within 30 minutes, I've knocked out his own. I just gave it to him, just faxed it to his head office. And by the third day, the thing came out.
Wow.
So in fact, I was school goalkeeper then in my secondary school. Got to know that I was in the US. It was
through what he read.
Wow.
So he now traced me to Boston. To
see whether it's still the same Kunle Solaja.
Yeah, whether it's still the same Kunle Solaja. And ever since we've been in close touch. ever since then. So that was the first time I had an article written
in a foreign
newspaper. So I think I've enjoyed journalism.
So which can we have them in sequence? The newspapers you wrote for, and then the magazines you wrote for, because our paths crossed at some point, but we need to know.
Okay. When I finished in University of Lagos in 1983, I was posted to Imo State, and there I was posted to Imo newspapers, the publishers of the Statesman.
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 Yes.
So I remember my first day there, I just told the MD and the editor who met us then that I wanted to be on the sports desk. He said, no, you can't. You can't have a highly trained personnel to be on the sports desk.
Imagine
that the sports desk was actually for dropouts and people that were not useful.
That was the impression.
Yeah, that was the impression, and I think to some extent the impression still stands.
It still stands. I agree with you. It's not.
Stands.
It's not.
For
still.
instance, now you ask yourself, virtually all newspapers have areas devoted for sports.
Yes.
The same thing, radio stations, television stations they have, and sometimes when the sports news is big, it moves from its traditional place to even compete on the cover.
Yes.
But how many journalism schools today have any course on sports?
On sports writing, none.
So
yeah.
That really means that sports
that's
writing,
injustice, don't you think?
Yes, it is. I agree.
Is not being given its position in the field of journalism. So that's one thing that I feel that those who plan the curriculum of mass communication and journalism schools should look into.
So how did you conquer that?
I just told him.
What must have hit you as what?
No, he just said, no, I have to be in the newsroom. I said, but am I also permitted at my free time to cover sports? So, well, if you want to. So, okay. And incidentally, I had a sports editor there, and you had this like a radical attitude. Because anytime the advert people come into the newsroom, they are looking for space to place advert. He was always the first person to be contacted.
Because they have space.
Because he was lazy managing that desk and he didn't have enough content.
That's what I'm saying. So they had enough space.
I said,
they have stories
I have stories to write. They didn't know what. So, because of my insistence, one day like this, the advert people came. They just bypassed him to go to other places to argue for space, to give them space. He just said, hey, you people don't want my space today, Abi? I said, yes, they don't want because we have. So I remember when he was going on leave and I conducted some interviews. He begged me not to release those interviews until he returned from leave because he just felt that at least for the next 1 or 2 weeks, that will be enough to sustain the pages. So I said, no, journalism is not like that. These things have to be published spontaneously, real time. So that way, by the time I finished in Imo newspaper, they actually wanted to offer me employment there, but I felt
because they had seen the difference.
Yeah, I felt I wanted to come back to the West, so I came back to the West. And
so you elevated the art of sports journalism there, even as a copper.
Yeah, as a
fantastic.
Copper. So by the time I came back to Lagos, that was the time unemployment actually started in Nigeria for graduates, because before us, those who graduated in 1982, they even have companies coming to have interview, career talks, and campuses then convincing them that their places were the place for the graduates to go to after their NYSC. They still have NYSC to attend before they can think of work. So, but by our set, there was no anything like that because it appears unemployment has started creeping in. So I stayed for about 2-3 months before I got employment, and my first place of employment was the then resuscitated New Breed organization. New Breed. Owned by Chief Chris Okoli.
Yes.
So because the Obasanjo
still alive?
I think it's no more.
Late. Yeah. Good.
So I remember that at that time, that is before then, the Obasanjo Yaradua regime had banned as proscribed New Breed magazine So it now came up with New Times magazine, and I remember the name he used to call me then. He gave me the nickname then, tenacity of purpose, because there was never an assignment he gave me that was never delivered. So as a matter of fact, one day he asked me, say, what's the meaning of Solaja? I said, well, maybe a wizard has come to settle. Ever since he started calling me wizard. So anytime I submitted a script to him, oh, this is from the wizard. And that time he had one inscription on the wall. Then you don't have to be mad to work here, but if you are, it helps. Because that place was really a madhouse.
Yes, you needed it. That's always what studio is, madhouse.
So
creatively mad.
Yes.
Creative madness.
So by the time I was 1 year old there, it was a monthly magazine, not coming out regular. It comes out at irregular intervals. So I wasn't too comfortable with that. So fortunately for me, one of my lecturers, the now late Dr. Dolupo, was contacted as a consultant to help recruit staff for African Concord magazine, which had just been established. So I didn't see the advert. I didn't see those who attend. They were supposed to write an exam, and then shortlist, then interview, and then employment. So I missed all.
Wow.
So one day he just saw me like, he said, where are you? I said, I'm at New Breed magazine. I said, no, that magazine that comes out regularly, no, that you want me in Concord. I said, but unfortunately, they've had exam, they've had interviews, I wasn't part of it. But that most of the people who attended were really not the materials in it. He said he was going to talk to the MD. So he now spoke with them, myself and a friend of mine, Frank Igbogbeze. So he said, he was going to talk to the MD. So he spoke with the MD and said, okay, they should just give us a trial. That these people didn't attend the interview, but you will not regret employing them. So by March 1986, I crossed over to Concord.
Who was this MD?
MD Donya Biola. So I crossed to Concord in March. By June, the World Cup was going to hold. So, and I told the editor then, Mr. Lewis Obi, that I was going to write the preview for them. And the man laughed.
This was just gone.
No, he said, look, that at that time African Concord, they have the London edition, they have the Nigerian edition. So said usually what we do for big time events like this, the London office was to contract that out to experts to write. I said, just let me write.
Just give me a trial.
I wrote on the World Cup, and he just sent it to London. Fidelodum was the editor then. Fidelodum just wrote and said, who was that person who wrote that thing? That even the one that he had from an expert in London was not as rich as what I wrote. So that's how I started the sports desk for the African Concord magazine.
Which was a magazine?
Yeah. And for the first time, they started having sports on their cover.
Oh, wow.
So, and it started on and on like that. Progression. And today is August, 8?
2022.
In another 9 days' time, it will be the anniversary of when I was made the Group Sports editor of Concord. That was August 17.
Wow.
So, as at that time, following the death of Okoraji, and the fact that Sunday Concord was the only newspaper that didn't carry it. So I was working for the magazine. So I followed the corps right from the time it was stretchered out. You remember it was about 10 minutes to the end of the match.
Yes.
So, and with that kind of thing happening, it was bigger than whatever the result was.
Whatever the result was.
So I just followed it up to the then health center.
Health center?
Yeah. So they didn't allow me to enter, but I was monitoring events from the window, this and that. I then saw Angus Ikeji
Yes.
Goalkeeper, who just put his hand
On his head
like this. I knew something very unpalatable must have happened. So I took note. By the next day, Sunday, I was already dressing up to go and nose around to find out more
What eventually happened. Yeah.
because it has been announced that Okoraji died. So with that single event, the sports desk of Concord was disbanded.
Wow.
And when it was disbanded, I was not even in the frame of people being considered to be on the sports desk of the National Concord then. So I was not, so there was argument forth and back, and I remember myself and Larry Zamuje.
Then Echejile.
So we met.
Another legend.
Yeah,
We've been trying to drag him, but Larry, you used to listen to this one. I'm going to drag you here. Come and tell your own story.
The two of us were in the bus coming back from that, looking frustrated. This and this. I've gone around for interviews. I've gone to, actually, I was coming from the then Vesta Hotel, which is now, what's the name of this hotel now?
Very close to
Amuwodo. Yeah,
yes.
That's where the players were camped then. So I was coming back from there. As Larry and myself were just coming in from the gate, we just saw Mike Awoyinfa and Dele Momodu just discussing. So the two of us just greeted him then and passed. Then Mr. Awoyinfa just said, "Oh, they didn't even know what has happened. Though. They didn't know what has happened." So it was then he now told us that I have been made the group sports editor and Larry was going to be my deputy. And now told us of how the narrative of how everything happened. That as they were arguing.
We're going to toast later. Go on.
Yeah, that as they were arguing forth and back on who should head the sports desk, that they were just, because they decided to sack the entire team in the sports.
Can we know the team that was there before? A couple of,
okay.
How many? 5, 4?
Okay. Pato Dele was the editor. We have Lati Gumade. We have Muiwa Daniel. We have Pauline Wale.
Okay, so I'm guessing that what happened, you were working with the magazine then,
yes,
so you were not on the
yes.
spot desk. Before you continue, sir, I know that everybody has different happenings or different sides to what really happened the day that Okoraji died.
Right.
So I want to hear a bit of what you saw as the fact that you were there that day.
Okay.
Right from on the pitch.
Yes.
Because I know that when you're watching
that match played on June 13. August 13. August 13, 1989 was the first match at the National Stadium for over 2 years.
Oh wow.
The stadium had been shut for renovation in anticipation of Nigeria hosting the then World Youth Championship. So it was closed for renovation. The Liberty Stadium too was closed for renovation. So the renovation had just ended, and the match, that was the first match in almost 2 or 3 years in Lagos. So it attracted more than
a lot of people. Yeah.
So, and on that day, like I remember, even the press gallery was choked up. The football match wasn't really very interesting. Both sides lost penalty kicks. I think we won. The first half goal. I can't remember the score. 1-0. So as the drag match was dragging on, all of a sudden there was a foul on one Angolan player. So who was down and was being treated. And without any contact with anybody, Okoraji was standing up like this. He just suddenly fell down, face up.
Wow.
Like this. No contact with anybody. So people were wondering, what was it out of fatigue? the first player to move close, the first Nigerian player to move close to him was Samson Siasia. And immediately he just got there like this, tried to check his face, he just put his hands on his head. So there and then we knew something. Right? And you remember before then, ambulances have been coming in and out of the stadium. Because that day, it's the death of Okoraji that was actually, well reported. There were other 5 people who died.
Oh wow! For what reason?
Suffocation. Like I said.
Oh,
before,
there was a lot of people.
A lot of people there.
Oh wow!
5 others were
reported to have died.
Yes, and also remember that was the eve of an earlier disaster 10 years before then. The match between Shooting Stars and Bedell Insurance.
Okay.
Late
there
at
was
night.
a lot of stampede.
Yeah, I was at the stadium too that day, and it's literally I passed through that place where there was that stampede. And I saw people lying down like this. But I just walked past because I never knew they were dead.
They were, wow.
Because they suddenly switched off the light. Because usually when I watch night matches, I stayed on the stand for the gates to be very free before you. But this particular day, like they just switched off. So, and it's literally I was coming from Ibadan and staying with my uncle in Lagos, who was not also in. So who was in, but never knew that I was coming. So I jumped through the fence to enter the house. Then that was also the day.
On record now, some pranks. So you can jump in the fence.
So that was also so I just entered, tuned to the TV. That was the day, the day the famous 12-2 thought was being propounded by late Richard Akinjide. So that was going on when they just said breaking news that 5 people, over 24 people have been confirmed dead following stampede.
And I just passed this place.
I just passed in Ibadan. My parents didn't know I wasn't in Ibadan. In Lagos, my uncle didn't know
you had come to Lagos.
To Lagos. So if anything had
happened, they would have just been searching for you.
Nobody would have known.
Nobody would have known you were even there.
Yeah. So now, the Okoraji incident happened on the 10th anniversary of that disaster.
Wow.
So I was just doing my own work during the week, interviewing people, find out other deaths, related deaths, and all this. So when they said after the argument, said Alhaji Ogushote, who was the personal secretary of Chief MQ Abiola, just knocked on the boardroom, just gave one small note in an envelope to the MD, Dr. Doyin Abiola. So the argument was still holding up. He just banged on the table and said, "Listen, this is a note from the chairman."
That's MQ himself.
Yeah.
Just so rest in peace.
I hereby appoint Mr. Kunle Solaja of the African Concord as the Crew Sports editor with immediate effect. That's from the chairman. So it wasn't subject to any
more arguments.
It just became Crew Sports editor of Concord.
So my MD then spoke because as at that time African Concord had been partly separated from the Concord Press. So the former editor had become the MD, and then Bayo Ononuga had become the editor of African Concord. So now told everybody in the meeting that they should please not tell me yet, because the cover of for the week is being anchored by me. And should I know, maybe out of excitement, I may abandon their work for the new challenges I was going to.
Sorry, sir, before you go, we have a comment that says that the Doba Hotel was where the players were camped then.
Yes. Yeah.
Who was it?
Bam Sparks just put it there.
Doba Hotel, yeah, it was called Doba Hotel.
Yes, Doba, yeah.
So that's where I went. I was almost on daily basis going there to interview the players and all that. So by August 17, the announcement came. No, the announcement came informally, so to say, because I have heard, but since I knew that they've told people not to tell me.
So you just kept it to yourself.
Played along.
I just played along, continue with the cover design. So the day I just submitted my report, that this was a Thursday, so that was when the then MD of African Concord, Mr. Lewis Obi, just announced to the rest that that cover that I wrote will probably be the last I was writing for them as a staff of the African Concord magazine. So that I have been given new, he didn't mention what I've been given, say I've been given new responsibilities. So we all clapped and so I sat down to continue work. When the personnel manager, Mrs. Kalejayi, just came knocking on my door, said, Mr. Solaja, what are you doing here? I said, I'm working. Then I said, no. I need to go upstairs to the sports desk to take charge. I said, why? Why must I do that? First of all, wanted to use bravado. Say, it's an order, I must go there. I said, I can't go.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you are talking about. And I said, please, it's my fault. That this is your letter of employment, appointment. Yes. But because it's a management position, she was not the one to sign it. It has to be signed by the MD. That right now, I am going to the house to give this to the MD to sign. Please read it. It has not been signed. So I should go. I said, I cannot just go up. Yes, I've read the letter. I will be like an impositor. To just
I have to be introduced.
Yeah, I have to be introduced. I said there's no problem. So just mark me upstairs and just announce to them that from this moment, this is your new group sports editor. So just did skeletal work that day and I left. So by the next day when the letter came, I was now asked to see the MD. And as at that time, the position of MD of Concord was almost similar to what we probably see as the position of a governor. So no staff will just walk in to go and say, oh, I want to go and see His Excellency. So except you are invited. And in most cases, for problems, that's when you walk into the office of the MD. So, but this time, so I just walked there. The woman welcomed me and said, okay, I should let. I said, well, if I'm to manage the sports desk, I will need to be given tools to work. They said, there's no problem. I said, because the chairman is really interested in this and that. So say I should go and put all I needed in writing. I thought maybe what's this?
It was a joke.
It was a joke. This was somebody who could not even ride a bicycle. I just go to my office and say, items needed. A car, this, that, then the salaries of those working on me with me.
You wanted to motivate them.
Should be increased. Right? So I took it to the woman's office. Just said, okay, that's okay. When he said, as at that time, Concord had just disbanded the then community Concord, which was all over Nigeria. So the vehicles for those stations were brought back. In most cases, they were all Volkswagen Beetle. Okay. So, and before man and God, that was where my eyes was. At least I will get a Beetle. Only for the next day like this, I was just working. When one man just walked, they said, sir, I'm your driver. I said, okay, go and wait for me. So immediately we finished work that day. I just followed the driver because I was actually expecting
the Beetle.
The Beetle. So as we were just going, I was walking past the Beetle. This and that. Only for me to get to one Pojo 544.
Wow! Then
this is your car. I still remember the number of that car. ND 408 KJ. So
it was KJ.
Yes, Ikeja.
Okay, sir. Please, I want to stop you a bit. Yes, we have a few comments from a very good friend of the house. We're always seeing him. He's either on Facebook or is on YouTube. We're expecting you, sir, Mr. Bayo. Yes. He says, good afternoon, Boom Radio. Dolupo and Yomi Opakunle, keeping it real. Good to see Kunle live on Boom Radio. And then he has a message for SR. He said, Shola Rogers has gone AWOL. Then he also says that Kunle Solaja remains the only authentic encyclopedia of Nigerian African sports.
Wow.
It is a great privilege to see and hear him and share his perspectives. Thanks, Boom Radio, for fishing him out.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I appreciate you always.
Okay. So
please continue,
you
sir.
now had to start your own team. So your head, what came? Because now you gave the MD what you felt were what you needed to perform. And they ticked everything.
Yeah.
So now it's for you to prove your point with the structure and the people you want.
Yeah.
So what came to your head as new things you wanted to be, new innovations and people, and how to position and how to, just make people who had confidence in you proud?
Yeah, well, for the first, immediately after that match, the Nigeria-Angola match, we had a crucial match then against Cameroon, August 27, 1989. And it was a match Nigeria must not lose. If we draw that match, we move to the final stage of qualification for Italian 90. So I just said I was going to cover the match.
So that was where the covering of World Cup started.
No, that was a World Cup qualifier. So
okay.
It was not the World Cup itself. So I just went. I remember the drama, and that was supposed to be the first match under Clemens
Westall. The Dutchgerian, who eventually became Dutchgerian.
Yeah. So we go to the airport, the presidential wing, where an Air Force Hercules plane was to ferry us to Cameroon. So those of us journalists going, we were already there. The officials were there, but the players were nowhere to be found.
Okay.
From Doba Hotel. So they were wondering what's happening. Where are the players? So after some time, Samson Siasia and two others just came in a car to the airport to announce that the players were going to boycott that match.
Wow.
Except they were paid upfront. I think that was the first instance. That's August 27, 1989. The first instance where we have players threatening to boycott a match except the allowances were paid. So as a build-up to that event, everything has been around Okoraji. Oh, we will play for this thing for Okoraji.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I think it just dawned on them that should things not come the way they expect, that was likely going to be their last match, and most of them will subsequently be out of the team. That's better they make their demands known
now.
So they had ugly here and there. So the issue was settled. I think Ikazobo was the chairman of the then NFA. So everything was settled. So they came back to the airport. So we felt that was a flight that was to take off at about 8. 4 o'clock, we were still on ground. We have not taken off. So when we were just about to take off, Western Hall just started its own. He said, if Rufai should enter that plane, he will not fly with us. So that Peter Rufai should not be part.
Why?
So it really was not a cooked up story because you were there.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Okay. Why? What was the problem?
He said Peter Rufai was not going to be part
I
of
remember.
this team. So I think they've had brushes here and there. Later, Peter Rufai, when I spoke with him, he said he came late for their training, and because he was almost assured that the shirt was there for him to pick. So for a new man coming, he felt that they had to be in charge right from day one. So and that
Rufai was actually like a cult figure at that time.
Yes, that immediately he got there like this. The whole both from the players and those watching, everybody heard it. Dodo Mayana, he returned the chant. Mariana Dodo. So the man just said, this one feels
is the king. Yeah,
I'm going to really deal with him. So we said, even when the Kazamo said, well, let him come along, but he won't be part of your team. that the choice of the team will be yours. The man said no. Say the moment he enters that aircraft, he was not going to enter. So that's how
it was going to be his first match.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we lost that match.
Okay.
1-0.
So with the benefit of hindsight,
Mm.
because we always also, as journalists,
Mm.
we write about the players, the conduct, we write about the administration, the conduct, we write about the managers, and we write about management of crisis.
Yeah.
Benefit of doubt. Should West Ham not have managed it better?
Well, I don't know what he was running in his mind. You know, by the time West Ham was leaving here in Nigeria, was already a cult hero himself.
Yes.
I remember.
But he had just arrived.
But he had just arrived. Yeah, I agree with you. He had
what
just
I'm
arrived,
saying is that
and they ended up losing the game. So I'm sure that there was probably maybe some faults that would have been like maybe if he had allowed Peter Rufai, maybe that might not have happened.
Yeah. So like Dolupo is saying, I'm looking at it from what you reported that happened. You know, with you live there. Immediately Rufai came. Whatever was, whether he arrived there, whatever. The players, everybody, that is the players that will form those that will be ahead of him. He will be at the back, at the rear. We're already hailing. Meaning, hey, yes, we are complete. I'm saying the psychology of that. Okay?
Yeah. I agree with you.
And then the minus that, the person
that I expected is really not there.
I'm just saying, benefit of that. That shouldn't have managed the situation better.
Well, maybe
so that those who are on the scene now can learn.
But he probably wanted to assert himself.
Which is right too.
So by the time we lost that match, so I was going to tell Sofitel to send my report to Lagos. So when I just saw 5 people coming down from the elevator, Bashon Abiola was one of them. So
as your publisher and your chairman.
Yeah. So I just walked to him, I greeted him, he just answered and walked away. So he was a well-known figure.
Yes, in the whole of Africa.
And he believed that
that
must be somebody who knew him. So I just paced up. I met him and said, sir, my name is Kunle Solaja. He just Kunle Solaja.
You are the one.
I didn't know you are this small. I was very skinny. I didn't know you are very small. You are this skinny. And I told you I'm an old man. The way you recall all the events. So after that, I think Edewo, the in-law there, was one of them.
Richard Edewo.
Yeah. So I just greeted him and then take from few steps back because I really didn't know the man. And I didn't know that he was a journalist delight. So I just went back to the hotel where most of us journalists stayed. So it was my colleagues that stayed with him. They sat by the poolside discussing. I didn't know whatever they discussed. But I remember some people saying that, maybe I was made the sports editor because probably I was related to Abiola or related to one of the wife. So it was that incident
that cleared a lot of doubt.
Because I could not even follow him because that is like the supremo, the alpha and omega for the organization where I was working. So I could not imagine myself also
just
following
going to
him. So but those who knew him, they just sat with him, they were changing banter. So it was at Italia 90 when somebody just told me that the man just said I made my group sports editor for the first time today. I didn't even know it's that small. And very intelligent. So he said a lot of things about me then and all. So but gradually I became close to him. I remember I applied for World Cup accreditation, which came to hand on February 2, 1990. So which happens to be my son's birthday then, so I can't forget that date. So as the thing came like this, I filled the form, and as at that time, for 19, they just introduced $500 accreditation fee. FIFA just introduced it because of the experience they had at the previous World Cup, which was Mexico '86, in which they said all sorts of people applied for accreditation and never showed up. So they now say, okay, accreditation fee is now $500.
If you really want to come pay
yeah,
it.
when you now come, they refund you.
Refund you, okay.
So
Okay.
they refund. So they did it for Italia 90 and USA 94, but they stopped thereafter.
Okay.
So they will just refund you that money in the local currency because we are paid in lira, then in Italian. So after I filled it, I said, where was I going to get
$500?
So I just walked straight to the MD.
MD again. Dr. Abiola.
Yeah, showed her the one, said there's no problem. So that's how they just wired the money to
And
Italy.
then you started your first World Cup project,
So that's
which
how,
we didn't qualify for.
Yeah,
but
we
you
didn't
still went for the
But
job.
you still went for
went
it.
for the
It's
business.
Yes.
it's very, very interesting, sir. Before we go on to a lot of things, another thing about your career is that's the path of you being a journalist.
Yeah.
So how did we know that you also being basically like by Oluwake said, had been an encyclopedia. Is like you had said, like since you were in primary school, you always kept a diary of dates. So I think that is understandable. But where did the book writing, being an author, where did it start?
Well, it started sometime in 1993, shortly during the agitation for June 12th.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, I was already used to working every day. All of a sudden, they closed Concord. So there was nothing for me to do. I just felt that if FIFA was founded in 1904 and they have a date to it, 21st of May, the FA was founded even much earlier and they have a date to it. Why will the NFA then, as it was called, be founded in 1945 and we can't pin a date to it by saying, oh, it was founded on so day,
yeah.
So I just said, let me begin the adventure of finding out the actual foundation date of the NFA. So off to Ibadan I went, the National Archive, where I knew all newspapers.
Still there?
Yeah.
Still there?
Yeah.
Where? Where in Ibadan?
University of Ibadan.
Fantastic.
I hope. Yeah.
Told you.
You know everything
I told
old,
you.
you find it there.
Everything.
But it was useful.
Yes.
It was useful.
It was useful.
Thank
So,
you.
I went to the Department of National Archive and demanded for Daily Times, which was a good paper for research. So from January 1 till December 31st, I went through the newspapers. There was nothing. So Concord had been shut down, so I had enough time to myself. I said, where did they get the idea that we were founded 1945? By July 1945, newspaper reports had the then what they call it, War Memorial Cup had just ended. Then I saw Governor's Cup proposed. That was an advertisement by the then LDAFA, Lagos and
Division.
District Amateur Football Association, and that's all I got. So I said, okay, let me continue. So, until I got to 1953 newspaper, there was never anything about NFA being founded. In fact, the stories about the NFA was so scanty then. Until I got to October 1953, I was just going. In fact, the archive closes at 2, so it was the last paper, October 1953. I was just going through because even though what I wanted, I wasn't getting it, but I was being educated.
Was still prompting.
I was getting news, information on other things, so that kept me going. Until I just saw 1-2 columns down report that the FA is 90 years old today.
In that 1953,
yes,
the
that's
FA is
that's the FA in UK. So I was reading it until the last sentence of it, which they said with a passage that said, one day Nigerians too will look back at August 21, 1933, when the Nigerian Football Association was founded.
Wow.
So that was the first thing that gave me an insight onto the possible foundation day of the Nigerian Football Association. You know, I started from 1945.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the next day now when I got there, I now asked for, in fact, throughout the night, I was just tossing on bed.
Because
I said, would there be 1933?
Three paper, yeah.
And all those things. Fortunately for me, I just got there. I asked for 1933 paper. That time, Daily Times, there was 8-page publication. So we have January to June as one volume, then July to December as the second volume. So they brought the two. So I started going through. So by June 27, 1933, I saw a headline, Proposed Football Association.
wow.
So I went through it. So there I got a report that there have been 2 meetings of a group of people planning to form the Central Football Association. The LDFA had been founded 3 years earlier, 1930. So now they wanted to found a central for the whole of the country. So that was on June. That was in the publication of Daily Times. In fact, it wasn't called Daily Times, Nigerian Daily Times. So June 27, 1933. So I started going through the newspapers until August 21, 1933. Front page. 2 columns down. The headline is Nigerian Football Association, and a call on all enthusiasts and those who love football to gather at the house is still existing in Broad Street, number 42 Broad Street, which used to be called Health Center. So it is now called, I think, Lagos Island Maternity.
Oh, okay.
Lagos Island something maternity. The building is still there. It's still there, standing, and still the same number 42 in Broad Street. So that people should gather. So the next day there was no report. That's August 22. August 23 there was no report. August 24 no report. Then August 25 the report of the founding of the Nigerian Football Association was reported. Wow. So by January, so they now said they were going to have their first annual general meeting on January 18, 1934. Wow. It didn't hold on that date, but it held about 5 days later. And if you check the Daily Times of February, this I can't remember the actual date now, 2 columns down, Nigerian Football Association. So it reported the founding of the Nigerian Football Association. The names of the first president, who happened to be the one who founded the Lagos Amateur Football Association, was there, Mr. H.A. Potter. He was an architect working for PWD, and was the architect that designed the Centenary Hall in Abeokuta.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was the founder of he went by the title president. Then there were 3 vice presidents. One of them is Alakija, Sir. What's the name now? Alakija, Adeyemo Alakija. The second one was Dr. Ladipo Oluwole. The third one was this one is the one they call Babaeko. What's the name now? Pa Mulford, Frederick Baron Mulford. Then the secretary was Mr. John Mead, but he could not attend the meeting. Somebody deputized for him until he recovered from the accident. So that Mr. Mead was the first secretary. He was the one that convened the meeting, writing letters to
first secretary of
yes. So Mr. Mead.
Nigerian Football.
So when I got that, then under it, they said they were going to write to the FA in London for affiliation. And all those things, they gave all sorts of things. So now, having got into that, I now wrote the FA in London to know if they actually
did it, and then
so one Mr. What's the name now? I'm trying to remember, because this letter was written. I still have a copy of the letter. It was written in 1996. So I wrote to FA and they replied saying that the name Nigerian Football Association first appeared in the list of their affiliated overseas associations for the season 1938-39.
wow.
So what that shows
that it was definitely way before 1945.
Way before 1945. So I now wrote them later. That was 2007. I wrote them 2007 that I would like to come, because unlike our offices here, you are free to just walk into NFA, but in the FA in London, you only step into their building by invitation. So I now wrote that I would like to come and use their library to go through their archive and see, because I'm investigating on the foundation of the Nigerian Football Association. So they permitted me, so I flew to London to the FA office. They showed me where they kept their. So I wanted that 1934, where they said where they were going to write. I wanted to know whether they wrote. So one shelf there, they have minutes of meeting, branded volumes. So I went for the 1934. So discovered that on June 4, 1934, item number 10 on their what they call it, minutes of meeting, item number 10 was clear. The Nigerian Football Association was admitted as an overseas affiliate according to Rule 10 of the Rules of Association. So I now call for the Rules of Association. So I saw the conditions listed. You pay something in shillings and this. So among the countries admitted then, I think Uganda was also one of them. So I made copies of
this was as far back as 1934.
34. So I now got them. I said I needed a copy of that to take home, and then they should also endorse it.
Obviously, because you knew that you were going to come to NFF and say no. You guys were not, and you needed to bring your evidence.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So now the letter. So the letter that said 1930, season 38-39, because the man just flipped through, but I went through the archive, got minutes of meeting and all those.
Took records of those minutes and everything.
So which proved beyond reasonable doubt that they had existed
long before
on that day. So I now asked, I said, I remember I've asked some NFF presidents, starting from Lulu. Lulu was convinced, but he said this headache is that how will the world react if we say, oh, we were no longer founded in 1945, but we are now that we were founded earlier. I said, one, the date 1945 was not your creation. You met it, and your administration corrected it.
Exactly.
So I said that will be to your
that's
credit.
your legacy.
That's one. Number two, even FIFA, when they get information that nullifies the earlier ones, they do change.
Yes.
And they just introduce the evidence.
And I gave instances. I said, for instance, by 1990, everybody believed that Peter Chilton was the most capped international player in the world, until the Saudi FA challenged it and said their own player, one Abdul Majid, had more caps than Peter Shilton, and they submitted the evidence with matches played around, and FIFA admitted it, and they instantly corrected it through a publication that was in 1990. by 1994, it was believed that the fastest marksman in World Cup history was what's the name of this man that scored under 30 seconds of the match between England and France, Espana 82. Until Transworld Television brought out clips to show that as far back as 1962 World Cup in Chile,
Wow.
a player scored under 19 seconds.
Wow.
And they came out
And they came to change it, yeah.
So
they changed it. So
there was
there's
nothing
no
wrong.
crime
Okay.
in correcting if there is any information that
Especially when there is evidence to back it.
So what did you say?
Hmm?
What did you
No, he said, well, by the time we came back from the World Cup,
Yeah.
2010, he became history because he didn't come back to his seat. Another person that wanted to correct it was my Gary. What happened to Lulu was also what happened to my Gary.
Okay.
I've already tabled it before Amaju Pinnick, who said, in fact, the first thing he said when I told him, he said, look, there's a white man, you are talking about the foundation of NFA, there's a white man who's writing on the history of Nigerian football, and there's no way you can beat him. I said,
Okay.
I said,
Okay.
so it's the color of my skin that will
Wow.
incidentally.
So the white man is supposed to help us write
the
our own
white
history.
Man, I knew him. So, well, by the time he was unveiling that book, which was on June 7, 4 years ago, 2018, at the Freedom Park. So some of the journalists there who had read my book and who had read some of it now put it to him, said, when was the NFF founded? The man didn't mince word, and it's also in his book. He said it's in his book that the NFF was founded as NFA on 21st August 1933, and that the reason why he chose Freedom Park to unveil his book was that Freedom Park is just a stone throw to number 42 Broad Street, where the NFA was founded. And I remember Amaju was there then. He said, well, when they are holding their next AGM, he will table the issue and the Congress will be the one to decide. I don't think
I don't think that ever happened because but the interesting part was that I know that as this morning I still googled about NFF. There's still 1945 that is there.
They are
but
badge.
But there is even on the Wikipedia page, there is a major portion that is saying that you actually have publications that is showing that it is not 1945. So I think there's a conversation that you had sparked that is already out there, that there is.
It's just that a lot of things have been thrown up by this aspect, but what led to what you have explained to us for a while now is
how you started writing.
Dolupo's question about how did you go into authorship, being an author. So did that lead you to write which book? Which is your first book?
My first book was Super Egos Through the Ages.
Okay.
Yeah, that book.
We don't have a copy of it.
No, the copy is not here.
Okay. But we get it. We get it on phone.
Yeah.
From you, we get it because we like to keep record.
Okay.
You know why I said that?
Yeah.
Sorry, you will answer in a moment. In your analogy, you mentioned the fact that you had to go to UK.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that you had to go to the library.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that you had to go to shelves. And then you mentioned how things were packaged and kept there, bound and kept there. So it means record keeping is critical.
It's critical,
very critical.
And that's one of the things we're doing with Legend Series. Whether it is for sports, because we have another Legend Series, which is for
broadcasting.
You understand? Because we believe that people must document things. And you also mentioned, you also have had her say a few minutes ago that, as of this morning, she went on Google, Wikipedia. One of the things that one finds is that in some of these spaces, it is what is available that is there.
Is there.
Not necessarily the truth.
What is true,
and
yes.
as the truth. Just
Exactly.
like you said, Peter Schiff things won't anti-FIFA. But what is right is that when you now get incontrovertible evidence of superior information, there's nothing. Quickly put it so that it's in the public space. So you started publishing, right?
Yeah.
Which book? Super
Eagles Through the Ages.
Through the Ages.
So which was unveiled 11th May 2010, just before the World Cup.
How did you feel when it came out?
Oh,
from the first day that somebody said you are going to be a journalist. How did you feel on that day?
I was.
Do you remember that man?
Yes.
Cool.
I was over the moon.
Okay.
And I said, at last. As a matter of fact, one of my great friends, Mumuni Alau, had been putting pressure on me. He said, when will this book come out? When will it come out? I said, okay, I need to update. He said, the book will, I mean, you just have to put a line somewhere and said, well, as at today,
this is
what I have. Then you can then write other volumes, and that's what brought about
the second one,
the Super Eagles at 70. For
okay,
instance,
so the second one at 70, we have it here.
Unknown to many people,
the
Super Eagles clocked 70 the very day we beat Guinea 1-0 in Egypt, Central Egypt, in 2019. That was the day that the first list of our national team players were released. So that means that is the day the national team started. So, and they went to UK on August 16, and all the matches they played in September and October in 1949 were not regarded as international matches because they were playing against amateur sides. But the very first international match was the one of October 8, 1949, on their return voyage from UK when they stopped over in Freetown and they played Sierra Leone. That was our
via the waters, because he wasn't flying at that time.
Yes.
You go through ship.
Through ship. So they were running 4 times around the deck every morning and evening to keep fit. So that was our first match. But all these things, if not documented, will not be full.
So which was your third book? Because now I still want us to catch up with a lot of areas that people will not forgive us if we don't catch up, even if we are going to have second edition. So which was the third book?
The third book is titled Going for Goal.
Going for goals.
Yes, going for goals.
Okay.
The unfolding Nigerian hidden football stories.
Okay.
That is where the history of the founding of the NFF was, because it was hidden.
Nobody knew about it.
Yeah, and some other things too. The founding of our national team. And unlike this one, that's very specific about the national team. That one is general about Nigerian football.
And goals,
from administration.
And goals.
I remember the first chapter is a 16-chapter book. The first chapter, and it's quite about 2 or 3 times more voluminous than this. The first chapter is just taking a general look at football in Nigeria, how it has captured attention and all this. The second chapter was on the founding of the Nigerian Football Association, which is today Nigerian Football Federation. The chapter 3 is on all the helmsmen from the first president, which is Mr. H.A. Potter, till the last one, as at the time the book was one, and the general secretaries to what happened during each person's administration, who had the longest tenure, who has the shortest tenure, and controversies or major things that happened during each person's tenure. Then the chapter 4 was on the national team, which was the lead football brand of the country. And then the chapter 5 is on the inter-club competitions, how Nigeria had waited for 32 years before we could win the Cup of Champions Cup, then the African Winners' Cup, and all that. Then the chapter 6 is on the youth football, our exploits with all matches played and score lines as at that time. Then the one my first book has all the matches, including the lineups of all matches we played from October 8, 1949 till
That's for the national team.
yeah, for the national team till that of November 12, 2010, when we qualified for the 2010 World Cup.
So this is the fourth book.
Yeah, that's the first book, Teslim Balogun.
Wow.
Okay, so
Thunder.
what brought about him?
Yeah,
Thunder.
this is about him. He is one of the earliest legends of Nigerian football, and he died 50 years ago. And of all the 18 players of our national team, only one is alive now.
Yes.
Wow.
And I would have expected that since unhappening that one of them is alive as in the UK, with the sports minister in UK for Birmingham,
Yeah, they probably should be.
they should have at least, because that is the only contact we can have now with our first national team. So, and he happens to be in UK. He's living
Unfortunately,
and
this thing goes and it's annoying. Yeah. You know, but
and incidentally, he was born on March 22, the date that we won our first African Cup Nations Cup.
Yeah.
And incidentally, too, Nigeria's first secretary, the NFA first secretary, was also born on March 22. And if the man were alive as at 1980, would have been 75 years old.
Okay, so these 4 books show how much you have documented in your own way.
Yeah.
All this that people can still latch on to.
Yeah.
Who didn't know whether you're young or you are old, but you know. So we can only on Boom Radio here recommend that this book, they're still available.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're still very.
Where can people get it?
Well,
hard copies, just hard copies.
Yeah, they can find it at Roving Heights, which has an office in Editorial,
Okay.
In Lagos, yeah.
in Lagos, and also another one at Bulano Drive.
Okay.
I think they also have offices in Abuja.
Okay.
Roving Heights.
Okay, so but would you be working with online publishers to get some of these?
This
are your
online.
so that
Yes.
we can have global.
Yes, I'm already
I know.
thinking about that.
Okay.
So I'm only still trying, I'm a BBC man, born before computer.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of online stores, a lot of these books probably would be on it. Is needed really.
Right.
These
the
things
reason why I
need to
said
be.
that is that I see a lot of people go into argument, including journalists, and they go into argument based on hearsay that they never found evidence for. So it's also good to encourage people to that. Okay, it's possible for you to find information documented, verified, in these books. Because you mentioned, for instance, now that the only member of the UK tourist that is still alive is in UK.
That
and the
was
people are
Okere,
okay.
yeah.
That was Okere, right? So also, and that's a job for you to do maybe something. The first, I remember when I was in Ogun State as SA, we honored them and we had to go bring in. It was from Ilaro, I think. The first Nigerian to feature in Olympics, but featured in UK colours. People don't know some of these things. So when people like you do this kind of work, we're happy. Now, but we will still talk more on the man Thunder if you have a bit of time. But I don't want people to lose out on Robert. So your editorial career, your editorship, can you chronicle them? Just briefly, okay, I was editor of this, I was from the point you were group sport editor of Concord, and Concord went down. Because I know our paths cross in so many other places, maybe people may not know that are international. For instance, 442. Is it 442? I can't know.
No,
Kickoff Nigeria and stuff like that. So can you let people know that one then before we go into other aspects of you?
From 1989, August 17, till 1993, June 11, when Concord was shut down, I was the group sports editor. Right. So by the time Concord came back in 1996, I was moved to the corporate affairs.
Okay.
So from there, I left, and I joined the Guardian on April 17, 1997, as the group sports editor.
Okay.
So, and by 2002, I was approached to be the pioneer editor of the Nigerian version of UK, of South Africa, all football publication kickoff.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time,
where you had me as one of your columnists.
Yes.
A few, just 4 of us, right?
Yes.
Myself, Dudu Rume,
Shegbodebami, yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not sure Mumini was with us. No, Mumini was busy in his own production.
Yeah. And before then, I've been freelancing also for the African Soccer magazine owned by Maradas.
True.
Yeah, Emmanuel Maradas in UK. So I left Concord. I left the Guardian to join the kickoff fully.
Yes.
But they pressurized me to return after a year and a half. So I returned to Guardian in 2004.
Okay.
And by 2005 January, I was approached by the then governor of Abia State to come and start a new all-soccer publication for the
Soccer Star.
The Soccer Star.
And I became your columnist again.
Yeah.
Wow.
So from there, I rose from being the editor of Soccer Star, the Nigeria first all-soccer daily newspaper. So then from there, I became the general manager publication for the Sun before I was excused out in January 3, 2017.
Okay, so let me just
from there.
Yeah. Okay.
From there, I started an online sports publication,
which is
Soccer ABD Sports Village
Square, which is making waves online. So your BBC has turned to, I don't know what you call it now.
I was born before computer.
Okay, but everybody, where the computer is.
Now be baptized.
So I'm just baptized. So
online.
I'm still receiving the Holy Spirit.
Okay,
so let me. Sorry, my minute. Let me just ask a question, because we don't have this kind of opportunity whatsoever. So you manage your reporters who come, and then you manage columnists, especially. What kind of columnist was I? Deadline was. I need to know. You never told me that.
And the only problem I had with you was that deadline was not in your dictionary.
But so I mean, the deja.
So, but I will have to put pressure and pressure on you.
Okay. So, before we go quickly, we're like almost out of time, sir. But before there are a few things that we need to do, sir. But I just wanted to ask you the recent sports feats that has been ongoing. It started from the World Championships to the Commonwealth Games, and I don't want to say is the sad part that a lot of these Nigerians especially that are making waves, a lot of them are not Nigerians, or they don't live in Nigeria. They're not based in Nigeria. It's not really Nigeria that has really invested in these people to do what they're doing right now. How do you see the Nigerian sports system? Because most of the time Nigerian sports is literally football and every other thing else that's just attached to it. We really just even the football that is like the main thing that everybody goes on about, we don't even put as much verve in it as possible. You know, when we started, you were talking about how even in the journalism part of it, sports is not even given as much attention as it should be.
Classroom attention. Well, it's just sad because if we continue along the line which we are, Nigerian sports, especially football, is on the verge of collapse. On the verge of collapse, it says that look at the recent Women African Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
Some years back, when our national team meet any other team in Africa, you don't talk about whether win or lose. Win is
the number of goals.
It's just the number of goals that we just want to know.
In fact, sometimes give us more goals. All we are saying, give us more goals. Then it became give us one goal. Then it became.
So, but as you see now, from what happened in Morocco, You know, in those days when we used to dominate in Africa, all our players were domiciled here. We had thriving women's league. We have private individuals who invested in football. You have Omidiran babes, you have the Kankan for Queens, you have the Sugar babes, you have Jagede babes, and all those. But with the moment these people were off the scene,
that was the end.
That was the end. So I don't think we can count up to 12 clubs, women football club in the country today. You will have instances when even home teams were walked over because of unpaid salaries, and the players are just doing it just on their own to just so
I read your report yesterday about the ITU female FA Cup, and I saw there that our own Anne Chejine team Abia ladies were walked over. So I was wondering, they were walked over.
So that shows you
quarter-final.
But while our own domestic women football is going down, other parts of Africa, they are just starting and organizing
their own.
And I remember I have recommended before, I said, look, even though we know that women football may not be a money churning event, but we can organize the league in conferences so that will bring down the cost of running the league. So if, for instance, Lagos is able to raise 8 clubs, let there be an Atlantic Ocean conference where only the 8 teams in Lagos will be the ones competing. If the rest of the West are able to raise 8 teams or even 6 teams, let them have their own league there. And the same thing with South, Southeast, the North Central, and so on. At the end of the day, the NFF should now pick the bill by saying, okay, we are now organizing a Super 6 or Super 8. Just the champions of all
those conference leagues
we now meet at a place at the cost of the NFF. Then we now have a champion. This way, all the players will have
everybody's involved, and then there's something everybody's looking forward to.
Yes, that would be
now,
cool. And that
talk of women football in Nigeria, you talk of just Rivers Angel, Delta Queens, Edo Queen, Nasarawa,
whatever.
So they are not up to 6 or 7.
Dolupo, forgive me. Just like you triggered, we talk about unemployment here and there. And we talk about ladies going into, I don't know how they call it Olosho or whatever. Young girls who have talent, if this kind of opportunity, a lot of them will go into these things rather than going to vices, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. So another way they could also do is to probably compel the MPFL sides
to have female teams,
that when you are going for a match, for instance, now let's say, especially if the match is within the locality, because the ladies may not be able to withstand the rigors of long trips like the men do. Say a team will leave Lagos, for instance, now to travel by road to Kaduna to play a match. They may not be that strong. But where you have local derbies, say Rangers versus Heartland, Abia Warriors versus Enyimba. So maybe as curtain raiser, let their ladies play.
Let's play first.
So that way, because in those
days when we had the greater tomorrow, we play before every
major match. And before you know it now, if you look at the Super Falcons now, almost 3/4 of them are drawn from abroad and they are aged. And there's no replacement
yet
from here that we say, okay, after Assistant to Shuala, okay, we'll have
we already have people that you're looking for.
We also go to Barcelona, or we go to.
Meanwhile, the Zambians,
they have all those
young
girls. They have
playing in their domestic
in their domestic. So except we look at these issues, we just discover that in another 5 years,
the
Nigerian women team will be the punching bag
Since you are an aficionado of chronicling, I'd like to ask this. Every time they talk about Nigeria's first continental victory, I always hear everywhere. I know it's controversial. I mentioned it the day of your book.
Yeah.
I know it's controversial. They always say 1980. And I said no. No. Because 1973 All-African Games that Nigeria won, the gold medal, is the first continental victory. I don't say championship.
Yeah.
Because we celebrate Atlanta 96 gold medal. We don't say it is not a championship. You know, it's a games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is global. The one for Africa. Do you agree or you don't? You know, you check.
On what?
That the 1973
yes, the
All-African Games team is the first Nigerian
team.
The first Nigerian team to win a continental football.
Yes.
So, victory for
but the first Nigerian team to win a continental trophy.
Yes.
Shooting Stars.
It's Shooting Stars. Okay, sir. We're literally out of time, sir. But we have a question. Castro Adelabu. We have a few comments, but let me just take his question. Castro Adelabu says, "What tips does Mr. Solaja have for new young sports journalists?"
Well, first and foremost, everybody must have a mentor. I had mentors. Even if I didn't work directly on that day, there were people I look forward to. I remember in the university, when I was in university, I read religiously articles, stories written by Sonny Ojagbese in the Concord.
So rest in peace.
Yeah. So you must have somebody you want to emulate, and you try and think out of the box like that. But maybe the computer has made most journalists lazy. Because I remember growing up as a reporter, you dare not step into the newsroom without you having a story or a story idea. But these days, people just wake up from their homes, just sometimes to the newsroom, and then they go to online.
You're right.
And say, "Oh, so what do you have?" "No, I'm still coming, editor. I'm still searching online."
And for electronics, you must have scripts in that day, those days. Yeah. But now people just talk off, they don't.
Yeah.
And I remember telling some, they said, "Look, it is not. I mean, those stories we are reading online were written by human beings, not spirit. So those, just like those, I've been at the newsroom. We were watching a UEFA Champions League match like this. Everybody watching from beginning to the end. Story. They've not reported it yet. I said, "Who are the day?" So just as you are watching it, is
somebody
that
else
person is watching it. For these days, nobody wants to watch.
So to him, you must work hard.
Yeah.
You must have mentor.
Like,
you must research. You must not be lazy. You must think out of the box.
For instance, now you hardly read a good account of a table tennis duel or even tennis
or handball.
All you just have is that Yomi Opakunle has defeated Kunle Solaja 11-7, 11-2, 11-5. How did
what happened?
How
is there a forehand? Is there the backhand?
How Kunle took a 2-point lead before Yomi cancelled it and then started amassing points that Kunle cannot take over. Never.
So what's the
those things? Oh no, that's the question. We have other things. So quickly, sir, before we go, we have a little gift for you. We know at this point this conversation definitely has to.
But I won't let him go away with the shooting thing. Flaming.
Okay, I was.
Which trophy? No.
Superstar.
Incidentally,
you love us.
I'm a fan of superstars.
God bless you.
Yes.
I know.
But he's just putting
as a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, Stars was my. Stars was my first club that I fell in love with before Rangers, and then later Shooting Stars. I became a Shooting Stars fan on October 2, 1976. When they played that match against Zamalek. I was in Ibadan there. The noise was so much that I said, let me go and watch this match. Who are these people making noise? So
that was when it came, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, I'm sure that if we call you again, you're definitely going to come because this conversation has definitely not ended. It's as we're just It's just a tip. But we're definitely out of time. We've basically done 2 hours. Wow.
Just like that.
Yeah, we have actually done about 2 hours.
And somebody was saying that our own main man was on a road, and I know he's not on a road, so he will have to present this. I'll have to bring him onto the scene.
Okay.
You know, this is live.
Yeah.
This is live. You present one, I present one. Oh. He's hiding behind this. He says he wants to do production today.
Okay,
so
sir.
let me go present this
Yes.
on behalf of the station. We're glad to have you. We always have legends. I'm a TV person. I don't like to cross camera. So, here I am now. On behalf of
Yes, sir.
Boom Radio. Are we...
Oh,
we
no,
good?
no,
Are we
1
good
second,
camera-wise?
sir.
Okay.
He will do it.
Okay.
So on behalf of Boom Radio, sir, we're very happy to have you.
Glad?
We're
This
very
is this certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Kunle Solaja. Many people, apart from Solomon, is also
okay. Now we
Solomon.
know. At least now we know that it's Solomon.
For his exceptional service and achievements in sports journalism.
Thank you.
We're proud to have you here.
Thank you.
Please tell the gospel of Boom Radio too,
Boom Radio.
and just as we will sell on your online. We must have a collaboration. This is also
Thanks.
a platform.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
So we will have to find a way of collaboration. Boom Radio and
somehow too, when I get home now, because I used to talk to my wife, she has her trophy shelf, I have mine. So she believes she had more trophies than me.
you.
I always tell her that my own spouse has more trophy than her own spouse.
Incidentally,
That's where you still win,
Incidentally.
whichever way.
Let us know the name of that your spouse now and what she did for Nigeria. Now we're rounding up.
And what she is Obiageli catering Editorial Solaja,
And
the badminton champion for Africa for many years.
Wow.
National champion and the 2019 African Women in Badminton Award winner.
And our next guest in a fortnight. The pressure from Cholaja was making this a fortnight now. That 1 month is too long. And you'll have to ensure that she's here. She promised me actually.
Yeah,
that she was going to.
I pray she will be around there because she has some tournaments.
She has to go.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to it, whichever time.
You serve Nigeria well. Here, we honor them even if Nigeria does not honor them.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Really appreciate.
please you can have your seat, sir.
Okay.
So that is all we'll be able to take today on Legend Series. I hope that everybody had picked 1 or 2 things. Thank you for the comments, the questions. We'll definitely be back again very, very soon with another legend. And even him, he definitely has to come back. He definitely has to.
And come volume 2.
We definitely has to come back to there's still a lot of things we didn't touch, but we definitely will come back to. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Can you quickly run through what your platform is called? Your online
Sports Village Square.
That's
sportsvillagesquare.com.
.com.
HTTPS.
So when to be sure of getting like very good sports content.
And be sure that we are collaborating.
Oh yes, definitely. So thank you, and we'll be back again soon. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. West African time. It is Boom Bar. Of course, there was no Boom Bar today, as the Legend Series has bounced the bar today. But definitely we'll be back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. West African time on boomradio.com.ng. Have a beautiful day ahead.